You are worth $1 billion. The number cleared your account on a Tuesday. No ceremony, no phone call from a bank manager, just a wire confirmation in your inbox at 11:43 a.m. You were eating a sandwich when you read it. The first thing you do is nothing. You sit with it for 3 days. You tell no one. You go to work on Wednesday because you don't know what else to do with a Wednesday. You answer emails. You refill your coffee. A coworker named Seth complains about his lease renewal. You nod. You say, "That's rough." You mean it and you don't mean it at the same time. The second thing you do is call a lawyer. Not your old lawyer, the one who handled your lease dispute in 2019, a different kind. A firm with no website, referred by someone who knew someone. The meeting is on the 38th floor. A man named Harlan shakes your hand once and doesn't break eye contact for the entire hour. He explains the structure, trusts, LLCs, holding companies in Delaware, a family office to manage the assets. He uses the phrase estate architecture 4 times. You write nothing down. His team writes everything down. The third thing you do is move. Not immediately. 6 weeks later, after the structure is in place, the new apartment costs $14,200 a month. You don't think about this the way you used to think about rent. It is a line item. The building has a concierge named David who remembers your coffee order by day 2. The elevator requires a key fob. You lose the key fob twice in the first month. Nobody makes you feel bad about this. Your family finds out in week 7. Not from you, from a cousin who did math on a LinkedIn post. Your mother calls on a Thursday evening. She sounds the same as always, asks if you're eating, mentions the neighbor's dog. Then, near the end, quietly, people are saying things. You tell her some of it is true. She asks how much. You tell her. There is a long pause. She says she's proud of you. She says it carefully, like she is choosing a word from a list and proud is the closest available. Your brother calls 2 days later. He needs $80,000, not as a handout, as a loan. His business has a cash flow problem. The bank is moving slowly. He needs a bridge for 90 days. You send it that afternoon. He thanks you in a text. The text is 4 words. 3 months later, you ask how the business is doing. He says, fine. He doesn't mention the money. You don't mention the money. The money is now a wall between 2 people who used to share a bedroom. You hire a financial advisor named Claudette. She is 54. She has managed generational wealth for 31 years. She speaks to you like someone who made a decision and now has to live inside it. You trust her immediately for this reason. She builds the portfolio. Diversified. Low-cost index funds anchor 60%. Private equity takes 20%. Real estate funds, 10%. Cash reserves, 10%. She walks you through the projections. At a 7% average annual return, your billion grows by $70 million this year without a single action from you. You hear this number and feel something you cannot name. Not joy, not relief, something closer to vertigo. The number is too large to feel. It just sits there. You meet people now you didn't meet before. A founder at a private dinner who is raising Series B. A senator at a charity event who holds your handshake 2 seconds too long. A woman at a members club who manages a sovereign wealth fund and calls everyone darling in a way that sounds like a legal clause. These people are warm in a practiced way. They remember your name. They find your opinions interesting. You used to think being found interesting felt good. Now you understand it is a transaction. They want your capital, your signature, your presence at the right table. You smile, you eat the food, you give nothing. A journalist reaches out in month 3. She is writing about new money in the city. She found your name through a public filing. She wants 15 minutes. Your publicist, a woman named Iris, tells you not to respond. You don't respond. The piece runs anyway. It gets your industry right and your net worth wrong, printing a figure 40% higher than actual. People you haven't spoken to in 8 years send congratulations. One of them is a former close friend named Casey, who moved away in 2017 and stopped calling sometime after. The message says, "Heard the news. So deserved." You read it twice. You don't reply. The security conversation happens at month 4. Harlan initiates it. He sends a 3-page report. Documented cases of high net worth individuals targeted within 24 months of public wealth disclosure. Home invasions. One case in Miami you read once and don't return to. You hire a security consultant named Price. He walks the apartment, the office, the parking structure. He makes recommendations. Some feel reasonable. Some make you feel like you are preparing for a threat you cannot see or explain to anyone who doesn't already understand it. You follow all of them anyway. The loneliness arrives in month 6. Not dramatically, it doesn't denounce itself. It accumulates the way debt accumulates. quietly until the number is too large to ignore. You notice it on a Sunday when you have nowhere to be and no one you can call without wondering why they're answering. Your friends from before are still your friends, but the conversations have shifted. There is a carefulness now, an edit. A man named Rowan has been your closest friend for 11 years. He used to disagree loudly. He pushed back on every bad idea without being asked. That version of Rowan still exists, he just doesn't show up anymore. He agrees now. He listens. He asks questions that lean in one direction. You stop calling as often. He notices eventually. The gap widens, not from malice, from gravity. You don't call to explain it. There is nothing to explain. The friendship still exists on paper. You both know this. Neither of you says it. You attend a conference in Aspen, 3 days, around 2,000 attendees. Average net worth in the room is a number no one says aloud. The panels are about impact investing and systems change and the future of capital. You sit in the audience and listen to a man worth $14 billion explain what it feels like to want more. He is not embarrassed by this. Nobody in the room is embarrassed by this. You eat dinner at a restaurant that reserved a floor for the event, $1,100 a head before wine. The conversation is fast and intelligent and completely sealed from the world outside the building. You fly home Sunday. You sit in first class and think about a version of yourself from 6 years ago who would have pressed his face against the glass of this room, wanting in. You feel distance. Money does not make you different. It makes the version of you that already existed more powerful. If you were generous before, you are more generous now. If you were paranoid, the paranoia has better resources. If you were lonely, the loneliness has more rooms. The billion didn't install a new character. It amplified the one already running. This is the thing no article tells you because it isn't useful. It doesn't inspire action. It doesn't fit in a headline. It is simply accurate. In month 8, you buy your mother a house. She didn't ask for one. You find a single-floor property in the town she has lived in for 40 years. 3 bedrooms, a garden that faces east. You close on it without telling her. You hand her the keys on a Saturday afternoon in the driveway of her current rental. She holds them for a long time. She asks if this is real. You tell her yes. She doesn't cry. She just stands there in the October light, holding the keys, looking like someone who has been carrying something heavy for a long time and has just been told she can put it down. That moment cost $620,000. It is the most real thing the money has purchased. You are worth $1 billion. A man named Price monitors the building's security feed. A woman named Claudette manages $987 million in allocated assets. Your brother owes you $80,000. You will never ask it for back. Somewhere in Portland, Casey still has your number saved. Rowan called last Thursday. You let it go to voicemail. You listened to it twice. He sounded like himself. The billion is not the point. The billion was never the point. The billion is a multiplier. What it multiplied was already present in you, in the people around you, in every relationship that shifted the moment the number changed. You didn't become someone new. You became a louder version of whoever you already were. That is the only thing about money that is ever true. The sandwich was turkey on wheat. You had made it that morning. You finished it. You threw away the wrapper. You rinsed your hands at the sink and looked at yourself in the mirror for a few seconds longer than usual. Then you went back to the desk. The emails were still open. The work was still there. Everything was the same. Nothing was the same. Both of those things were entirely true. They stayed true for a long time after. That is what $1 billion actually is. Not a destination, not a transformation, not the end of something real or the beginning of anything clean. A new set of conditions inside which the old version of you continues to make choices, carry habits, love the same people, lose the same people, and wake up every morning to a world that has changed completely and not at all.